Greetings, I'm Marcella Bullmaster-Day, and I'm going to give you a very brief overview of a set of documents, the Common Core State Standards for English Language Arts Literacy. While the architects of these standards meant for them to be fewer, clearer, and higher, if I were to you the entire stack of Common Core Standards for English Language Arts Literacy would be well over 6 inches thick. So the task of becoming intimately familiar with these new standards is a very long-term process. As I'm sure you are aware, New York State makes a great deal of information about the Common Core available at www.engageny.org. Again, that's www.engageny.org. Also, the New York City Department of Education offers a rich array of Common Core materials and information on its website. The aim of the Common Core State Standards for English Language Arts and Literacy is to get students to read like detectives and write like investigative reporters. And this is across the content areas. These are not standards for English teachers only. Literacy in the content areas involves being able to read with understanding, to write, and to speak in the register of the discipline. For example, historians have their own vocabulary based upon the particular ways of thinking and researching historical phenomenon that they use. Likewise, scientists, mathematicians, and literary experts all have inquiry methods and vocabulary particular to their disciplines. The Common Core literacy standards for any content area stress close reading of the text, argumentation and discussion based on the text, and extended writing from the text. Compared to what research has shown in recent years to be the emphases of instruction in K-12 schooling, the Common Core State Standards represent 6 significant shifts, and we're going to briefly examine each one of these shifts. First of all, in grades pre-K through 5, the emphasis now is on balancing informational and literary text. Now, while there are broader definitions of text, the Common Core State Standards define text as written text only. And these standards call for at least 50% of what K-5 students across the content areas to be informational text. So again, 50% of what students in grades K-5 read should be informational text. In addition, the standards call for 70% of what high school students read to be informational text. And again, that means across the school day, across the content areas. Of course, English teachers can still read literature and literary texts, but the emphasis of the Common Core Standards is to increase the reading of informational texts across the content areas, because college and career expectations are that students and professionals are required to make sense of complex informational text. The second shift is for grades 6 through 12. Students are to develop deep knowledge in the academic discipline. This is a shift because it requires that every content area teacher be a language and literacy teacher. Again, this is a shift because every teacher is a teacher of reading and writing. This includes math, science, and social studies teachers who need to incorporate strategies to strengthen their students' vocabulary acquisition, their reading comprehension, and their writing skills within their academic disciplines. The third shift is the notion of the staircase of complexity of text. The idea of text complexity is a multifaceted one. Text complexity has both quantitative and qualitative measures, and there are also task and reader aspects to be considered. For example, these are a few of the statistical scales that have been developed for measuring text complexity. You have no doubt encountered some of these. There is the Lexile formula, the accelerated reader system, degrees of reading power, the Fleisch-Kincaid scale, educational testing systems source rater, and the Pearson reading maturity metric. Text complexity encompasses multiple facets: the structural features of the text, the background knowledge demands of the text, the language conventions and disciplinary register of the text, and the levels of meaning embedded in the text, including figurative language and allusions. When the Common Core standards define close reading, the idea is similar to religious study of sacred texts. The standards call for teachers to be patient and to create more time and space in the curriculum for close and careful and repeated reading of central texts. Now, by way of understanding the tenor of these new standards, it's worth noting that one of the key architects is David Coleman. He's the son of a college president. He was a Rhodes Scholar. He's a classicist. Since the publication of the standards, he has gone on to become the president of the College Board. David Coleman's reverence for complex texts is heavily reflected in the standards, and his underlying philosophy is that as a person moves from college and into the professions, the professional is not asked what she did on her summer vacation. She's asked to interpret and deal with the complex texts of the profession. The fourth shift in the Common Core standards is a shift to text-based answers. And of course, text-based answers relate to text-based questions. It's all about the text. The shift in these standards is away from an emphasis on personal opinion and toward concentration on argumentation from text. The goal is that students have rich and rigorous conversations which are dependent on a common text, and that teachers insist that classroom experiences stay deeply connected to the text on the page. The goal is that students will develop habits for making evidence-based arguments, both in conversation as well as in writing, to assess comprehension of a text. Text-dependent questions can occur at a variety of levels, from the level of vocabulary understanding, to key details, to author's purpose, to making inferences by going beyond the written word, to comparing across texts when making arguments. A fifth shift is writing from textual sources. Writing from textual sources can include expository writing, as in writing reports, persuasive writing, making arguments based on evidence in the text, and of course narrative writing, which still has a place, the recounting of events or storytelling. The Common Core standards make clear that writing needs to emphasize the use of evidence to inform or make an argument rather than the personal narrative and other forms of decontextualized. The idea is to stay with the text, not to leap quickly away to personal experience or personal opinion. The standards note that while there is still a place for narrative, students develop skills through written arguments that respond to ideas, events, facts, and arguments presented in the text that they read. Finally, a sixth shift is toward academic vocabulary. Academic vocabulary is vocabulary that focuses strategically on comprehension of pivotal and commonly found words that are needed to understand text in any discipline at a high level. Words like discourse, generation, theory, principled, there are thousands and thousands of these words. This definition of academic language is in line with the work of Isabel Beck and Margaret McCune, who posit that there are three tiers of words. Tier 1 words are the basic words that young children or new language learners learn first to be able to function socially. Basic verbs, nouns, adjectives, words like play, run, eat, up, down, chair, table, etc. And then there are Tier 3 words, and those are very discipline-specific words. Words like hypotenuse, isotope, filibuster. What the Common Core and others call academic language is based on Beck and McCune's idea of Tier 2 words. This is a huge number of words. There is no list of Tier 2 words. There are over 7,000 of them. But these are the words that are powerful in terms of understanding high-level text across the disciplines. Finally, another source of information about the Common Core and new developments as they occur is, of course, Education Week, which keeps track of everything that is happening with the implementation and development of assessments and so on related to the Common Core standards. And finally, you have probably played with the website Wordle. If you have not, I recommend that you look at it, Wordle. When you paste a text into Wordle, the program generates a word cloud that depicts the relative frequency of words in the text through the size of the various words. When the Common Core standards for ELA literacy were fed into Wordle, the word cloud clearly shows that text is the predominant word in the standards document. When it comes to the Common Core literacy standards, it is all about the text.